We're here.
We
Hey.
Hey. Okay. Dang, Jami just went away. That's okay. She gonna pop back on. Why the devil be working against us?
Every time it's my mouse. Every time I like move her, it's okay. We're here now.
Nah, you know when you're working on something good, that's when the devil wanna go. Nah, I'm playing. I ain't gonna start preaching. I'm playing. But y'all, I'm super excited for this interview, this conversation tonight. We have a very, very special guest. Aren't y'all excited?
We are
excited.
Very excited. Yes.
I think you're on mute, Bondy.
We are.
Are you muted, Bondy?
Am I?
You were.
Okay.
Oh, I said indubitably. Yes, we are extremely excited.
Okay, Wikipedia. So
I was thinking
the same thing. Can we get a round of applause for us to introduce the lovely Destiny Payton?
Hello. What's up, y'all?
Hello.
What's going on?
Hi.
Hey.
How are
looking
you?
Gorgeous.
Yes. Thank y'all. I know I was gonna be with y'all, so I had to, make sure I came right.
While y'all are waiting, y'all be sure to follow us at OohLadiesFirstPanel. Email us your questions. We haven't done advice in a minute, but I would like to get back to that. Y'all know where to follow the rest of us: Bondy Blue, Lee's Corner, Jami ThatsMe, and myself, Necey Dixon. Okay, Destiny is back. Can you hear us?
I can.
That works. Okay.
Perfect. All right. So I was just saying, we won't waste any time. We can get right into the questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the first question, let's start off with, can you tell us how you were casted for Love and Marriage Huntsville?
Casted. So it was really like an organic moment. My ex-husband and I were supporting the hosts when they would have events. We would go, and I had this real cute pink dress on. And one of the producers walked up to me and said, "Well, who are you?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm Destiny, and who are you here with?" And said, "I'm here to support the hosts or whatever." And he said, "You need to come around more." And then my ex-husband walked up and he said, "Oh, y'all are." He said, "We need to see more of y'all." And I actually went out to dinner with the hosts and Kristen Lernell, who've been on the show, and a producer was there, and I didn't know she was a producer. And I was kind of like, I don't know if it was like me being like vetted or what, but it was just a real organic moment, and it just transitioned from there.
Shout out to that pink dress.
I remember that pink dress.
Okay. You said you remember that pink dress?
Yeah, you guys were at an event. I remember that.
Yeah.
I think it was like 2 seasons ago, I think. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was the very first one where the Kimmy and the chicken, right?
No,
it was before that. It was when the architect was on there.
Okay, were you pregnant on that one?
I was.
Girl, let me tell y'all something. The way we see that ran together for me, I just remember
I just announced. I had just told Melody that I was pregnant on that in that scene you're talking about. But this scene was when they had like the magazine cover, and I came to that.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Gotcha. So speaking of past seasons. Last season, you and Tiffany bonded over both having been in the foster care system. Do you mind sharing how long you were in foster care? What that was like?
No, I don't mind at all. Actually, I'm not even sure if it was 3 or 4 when I was in the foster care system. I want to say 4, but I was a baby, and I was in a group home with my brother, the one that was murdered. And then we ended up getting separated and being put with 2 different families before our grandmother, my mother's mother got my brother and my dad's mother got me. And then my dad, because it's crazy because even though he was fighting for custody of me, they didn't just give it to him. They put us in the system, and then he had to go through the whole process of getting me. So, yeah.
Okay.
That adds a lot of context because you do seem to have a really close relationship with your dad, as if there was never like a big block of time. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I'm an only child, so his only child.
Oh, that's that bond.
I thought you were going to say, "Oh yeah, you only child." I can tell.
No.
So we want to find out. You were meeting with the hosts, meeting up, but how did you meet Martell initially? Because that was the friend you were the friend with the longest. How did y'all two meet?
Well, Huntsville's small. We didn't go to the same high school, but we were popular. So everybody knew everybody. I was a cheerleader. He was a football player. I actually dated his cousin in high school. And his cousin married my cousin. They have 2 kids together. They're divorced now. But just it's a small town. So when you have people that are known at each high school, we just knew each other vicariously through that.
Okay.
Now on the season, we did see where
Melody...
Melody...
and this is another funny thing. My dad and Miss Marlene used to date. So
wow. Almost your stepbrother, almost
in real life.
Right, in real life. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we did see on the season where Melody kind of seemed like she had an issue with you being friends with her ex. And a lot of viewers should feel like if you've had a close friend and they're no longer with their man, you should not be friends with that person. So we wanted to get your thoughts about that. Like, do you think it's okay for friends to be friends with exes?
It depends on, I feel like if the person knows how to find a healthy balance, because it's kind of unfair to ask someone to stop being friends with someone. I feel like, because I've had opposition with people that I was close to, but I couldn't ask my friend to not be friends with that. I might have felt a way about it and I expressed it, but if your friendship is solid enough, you should be able to balance the two. That's my opinion.
You think there's a difference between like maybe this male not want you to not be friends with him, but maybe not have conversation? Like, do you think friends should have conversations about the ex with the ex? You can still be friends. Y'all can be friends, but like not speak about who they're no longer with, because they then feel like you're kind of picking sides. Do you have any opinion on that?
Absolutely. So as far as speaking about, I spoke more about Martell with Melody than I did Melody with Martell. And whenever I spoke to Martell, it was as a woman, like in defense of what I felt he was doing wrong, and vice versa to her. It just didn't air. So for me, it's not me going back and having conversations about a person. And also, I didn't know that she had a problem with us being friends until we sat down at that table and had that last scene. I had never heard that from her before. And then on top of that, it's okay when you feel like you're getting information, but now that it's, different for you and you're in a different space now, our friendship is being questioned. So that was actually hurtful. Like, really?
Yeah. You're saying before you would give her information on Martell, and that was cool.
Little
but now that you're
little stuff, conversations that he might have or things he might try to bring up. But yeah, absolutely.
And vice versa?
No. And he'll tell you that. Oh, you won't tell me that. And it's funny because we had a scene and Mel apologized to me before she told him something that I told her, and they cut it out. But she looked at me, she said, "I'm sorry, I just have to say something to him about it." And I'm like, oh. So it's girl code. Like, I'm not sitting on the phone and talking to Martell or in person or anything and talking to him like I would talk to her, because she's a woman. It's different.
Yeah. So now that you say that, I have to ask you this. So last episode, whenever, well, do you watch the episodes as we watch them, or do you watch them earlier?
I catch them when I can. The last couple of weeks, they normally send us like assets and clips and things. We haven't gotten any. So
this last episode, you went over to have a conversation with Martell. And when you came over, he was like, "Girl, look at you. Why you showing all that skin?" And I was like, Martell, why you say that? Because you know what the people gonna say. So did you feel away?
To him, why would you even say? I had on a sweat. The only thing that was on was my shoulder.
Your shoulders.
Like one shoulder was out. Really?
Yeah.
He's so extra. And I almost feel like he's playing devil's advocate.
Yes.
Oh, this is the devil. Sometimes, the devil sometimes plays on both ends and you never know. So we don't let him be on one shoulder or the other.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Is it my turn?
I think it is.
Okay, cool. So my next question is, one of the audience's frustrations seems to be your lack of transparency, or what feels like your lack of transparency. So is there a reason why you've been so private over the past couple seasons?
Y'all feel like I'm private?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We're gonna have to say yes. We are. Yes, ma'am.
This is the thing. The fans like you. I think the fans just feel like they don't know enough about you to kind of figure out what's going on. But like they like it, they want more.
Talk to Carlos.
So Carlos, come on around here. And we can have both y'all on here.
Talk to Carlos.
It's a lack of timeline. It's a lack of timeline for me.
Yeah.
It's a what?
A lack of timeline. Like, we met, you married, and then it's like, that's over. And now it's like, you know, just pieces, just little bitty pieces. But I don't feel like we're seeing a full story.
I agree 100%, but I don't think that I've been the focus. I've been, when my ex-husband decided to pull out of the show, it was in hopes of them letting me go. So because it's love and marriage, and if I'm no longer married,
I want to say this because I do remember with the first season y'all were on together, it did seem like you came back, we didn't see him, and I feel like I said, I wonder if he didn't want you to show it, but she still stayed on, and I think the fans assumed it was a gag order, so was why nothing happened then.
He was more of a proponent for the show than I was, and when he walked away, it was because he wanted them to stop filming with me. He was okay with walking away, and if they, let me go,
let you go.
But they didn't want to. So then that was because we were the next couple, and that was while we were being introduced and all that. And so when that happened, it was like, where does Destiny really fit outside of her relationships with Martell and Melody? And as far as the divorce and being candid about it, I did agree to sign in our divorce decree to not speak about him on the show, in lieu of some other things. And I wish I wouldn't have done that because I'm sick of people asking me about it. I want to move on. But also am also okay with it because of this. I don't know how the story would have been told, and I want to make sure I protect my son for his future and his relationship with his father.
And you know what? I think people ask because they like you. I think if no one cared about you, they wouldn't even like, girl, we don't care. But I think they're so inquisitive because they're like, we want to see what she has. Like, you're interested.
I don't mind them asking. The hardest thing has been doing this show and not, because I am a transparent person. Like, I sometimes talk too much about myself. And what's going on in my life. And sometimes I need to pull back in conversations with random strangers. So I don't have a problem with sharing, but I was very cognizant of how it was shared. And if I should, because at one point we were reconciling. So I didn't want to say, oh, we're going through a divorce because I didn't know where it was going. And so, and then I didn't want to speak in anger. And I want to speak in disappointment because, you say things that you can't take back. And so, it wasn't a gag order. It was an agreement.
Okay. With that being said, is there anything that you can share about at least the timeline of events so things can be just a little bit clearer for folks?
Okay.
Because
so
the time period that you guys were together at first, because I know there was some kind of back and forth before you guys got married, from what I understand. So just, from then on, just so we can have a clearer picture.
So we were together a total of 5 years before we got married. And it was long. Well, our first year together, we were in the same space. And then I moved to Nashville and it was long distance. And we saw each other once a week. And then we got engaged. We were engaged for 2 years. No, let me get the timeline right. We got engaged at year 3. We were engaged for almost 2 years. And then we were married for 2 years. Going through a divorce 9 months at that time. So as far as timeline, going through the divorce, he did serve me papers at 3 when I had my son. He was 3 weeks old, and I was standing in the driveway, and I received papers. And we're still living in the same house. So I walked in and act like I didn't even receive it.
Were you shocked?
Actually,
or were you
I haven't spoke about this. I was actually speaking with an attorney weeks prior, but God didn't tell me that it was something that I need to move forward with just yet. But I'm also happy that it happened the way that it did, because I really don't believe in divorce. I would have probably stick it out as bad as I got, and I probably would have fought through it. But the initiation of it I really didn't think it was real because I'm just having a baby, just moved here, just, you know, had bought a house, built a house. And it was so many new things going on in my life that I didn't even respond to my divorce initially. And he got a default judgment and got everything that he asked for. And then we went back to, our attorneys ended up talking and he wanted to reconcile. So we got back together. And look at y'all, everybody head just went.
Yeah,
we got everything he wanted.
I'm hearing it playing.
Yeah,
I'm watching it play in my mind.
It's shocking.
You were served that you guys
everything he
like
wanted,
reconcile.
including full custody of our child at one point in time. Because if you don't respond to a divorce, they give them what they asked for. And I responded to him. I gave him documentation to, you know, whatever my response was, but he expedited a request to have full custody and they gave it to him. And I found that out because I hadn't even really hired it. I talked to an attorney, but I hadn't hired an attorney because I was.
You just had a baby.
Huh?
Because you just had a baby.
baby.
Right. And so, right. And so when I called, I called an attorney to say, actually, no, I had called an attorney and left a message too. And that person called me the morning of the next day of my deadline to respond. And I let them know, yes, I gave him documentation. I had my dad with me so he could be a witness to say that he received these documents. I had never said this much. And then they were like, okay, well, let me just look up your case, whatever. And the lady just gasped and was like, you're already divorced. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, you're divorced. And then I said, how is that possible? She said, he never reported that he got documentation from you. He just went and said she ain't responding, whatever.
Wow.
And he asked for joint custody and no child support. This is all legal. I mean, public knowledge. And they gave it to him. And some type of request she was telling me he did where he asked for full custody. And they gave it to him. And so I'm finding all this out on this phone call and I am frantic. Like, what? And I actually left the house because I didn't want him to show up and try to take the baby. And it was a weekend, so I couldn't really do anything. And y'all not about to have me over here losing my lashes. And
Look,
so
I'm over here trying to hold mine, girl.
It's a free space.
You know, girl, I'm with like, this is really upsetting.
I would have left.
Oh my God. I appreciate you sharing because this is what I
Ooh.
wanted at the reunion. When you said blame Carlos, I was like, Carlos, I wanted a little bit more at the reunion.
Yes.
So,
but legally, he sent them documents too. And Carlos told me on that stage that he received documentation from him as well. So we both were pigeonholed on what we could say.
Wow.
Do you feel like he ambushed you at a time where he probably felt like, because you just had a baby, that you weren't even mentally, physically, emotionally prepared to even respond to a divorce? Do you at any point now after the fact, it's been a while, do you feel like it was a pre-planned situation that he knew?
Well, I told him
out
in
on
the
better
hospital
foot
that if we continue like this, we're not going to make it. And he thought it was a threat. And I wasn't threatening to divorce him. I was saying we cannot continue like this. We're not going to make it. And so I think he was trying to beat me to the punch.
So all of this is, it sounds like something out of a damn Lifetime movie.
Listen, girl, it's a show by itself.
I'm wondering, I'm so sorry, Necey, because I don't want us to escape this particular thing. I just wanted to know what was happening that caused you to want to seek out an attorney anyway, and for him to rush and beat you to it.
And it wasn't even a rush. It was like days apart. Like after I talked to the attorney and got the, advice, I was seeking a separation because I didn't want to jump into divorce. I wanted to be separate because it was like, this was too much. And when I say COVID was a big factor, that was because we were long distance and came in the house together and then we literally couldn't leave. So if we had a disagreement or whatever, we were stuck with each other. And normally if we got a disagreement, I would just hop in the car or go somewhere, leave to go to Nashville or go to Atlanta or wherever. And so we didn't have that opportunity to have that space to, cool off and get back in a good place. And so everything just kept piling on top of each other. And I feel like when he filed, it was like a scare tactic, because I feel like he did everything he could to get me. And then when he got me, it was like, I got you now, and this is what you're gonna do.
Do.
And then you were pregnant throughout the pandemic too, right? Like pretty much. So you were already restricted because you didn't want to get yourself or your child sick. So that also layered the frustration and things that
so
was happening
literally when I would serve
household.
papers, what I would do is I would pull out of the driveway and sit in my car and let my son get sun, vitamin D. And that's how I was served.
Well, you know,
my
I
bad.
don't want no more chicken.
Go ahead.
We don't want no more chicken around
His
here.
chicken is good now.
Look, I don't know about that now.
Not no more chicken.
So my question with that is, you know how, like I was saying, this seemed like something from a damn Lifetime movie. Like usually there's, you know, certain red flags you can see along the way, but it sounds like he just completely turned against you.
No. I'm not gonna even sit there and say they weren't red flags. I would be a liar.
Okay, I was gonna ask.
Absolutely.
It was
we
red flags leading up to that point
because we hope and we want it to be. So I always, and I said this when I told Melody that I signed my papers. I said what I realized in that moment was you can never fall in love with potential, and that's what I was so focused on, what I saw in the future that I ignored what was present. And I remember my life coach saying to me, if it doesn't change, are you okay? If this doesn't change, are you okay? Are you okay with it? And I kept saying, oh, hell no, I'm not okay with it. And I wasn't thinking that it wasn't going to change. I was thinking, oh, it's going to get better. So no, I'm not okay with it. And now we laugh about it because it's like, oh, I get it now.
If he was to say, reconcile, would you be like, you know what?
Yeah.
No, ma'am.
Maybe.
I want to know. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to get too much in y'all business because I feel like, you know, that's a little much. You know what I mean? But I am interested to know what it felt like for you, because that's very vindictive. That this part at the end here with the baby in such a sensitive space, and I just feel like I want to understand why that happened. Like why is he so venomous towards you in this?
It's hard to not say that he is, like, based on how you explain the story. Like that's just hard to not put that on him, because that's definitely how it comes off.
Standing in the driveway holding the baby, like that's a lot.
And the stress that you endured during the pregnancy, for me to endure so much stress during the pregnancy and then turn around and you just had the baby and then you're faced with this right here, it's hard to not see him like that. As vindictive.
So can you,
this is not a bash him session.
No,
I'm just
speaking. No, not at all.
No, that's not.
It's your story.
We want to make this about you.
It's your story. Right.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm actually asking in this way purposefully, because I feel like it's more so about what it felt like for you, because when we look at it, it felt like some type of emotional detachment from what had happened.
I was definitely numb. So when you asked me how I felt, I didn't feel anything. Because I knew my focus, even in my pregnancy when things weren't good, I had to focus on keeping my space,
your baby,
and my mindset and my energy good, because first of all, I was high risk. I had 5 miscarriages prior to my son, and I wasn't like the plan. You know, you plan to get pregnant. Like we had a whole fertility run. We went to a specialist. We went in a room and had to do the whole little cup thing, all of that. So when I got married, I got pregnant a month later. Naturally, we had an appointment. I got married in September. I was pregnant in October, and we had an appointment in November to set up our process for fertility. My previous career in the corporate world, they pay for your first round of in vitro. So we knew that I was going to stay there for at least a year in Nashville for the beginning of our marriage, because we wanted them to pay for in vitro. And I got pregnant naturally. And I remember when I found out, I heard God clear as day say to me, this one's coming. He is strong. And I left work. The day after our appointment with the fertility specialist was my last day. It was the day before Thanksgiving. my last day at work. And it wasn't the plan. Like I planned to work and put money into Madani and do all of that. And I knew that I had to sit down or, for this baby to come.
Okay. So
what do you,
did I answer your question, Bondy?
Yeah.
Kinda, because yes, it does. Let me know how you felt after the fact. But I feel like I meant more so during the relationship before.
During the relationship.
Yes, like before we got to this point, because I feel like I can't ask you specifically about what happened in your marriage, but I would like to know if you can tell us what your marriage felt like for you. So you know how, as a married person, you'll have a time in your marriage where y'all aren't seeing eye to eye for whatever reason. So it'll feel like I'm alone, or feel like we're not connecting, or I feel like you're not listening to me. So I guess I'm asking in that of mine.
So I got to a space where I did not feel protected or provided for. And then I started moving as a married single woman as far as making decisions in my life and how I moved. And that I realize now emasculated him. And it was because he really didn't know how to, and just to be as transparent as I can without saying or, talking or making anybody seem like it's a bash session. I know I keep saying that, but he didn't really know how to leave and cleave. And that was one of the things that added another layer to what was going on with us. So if there was ever opposition, somebody else would tell him that it was okay.
Oh, you know what that made me think about? You and Miss Marlene in that parking lot.
You know what? And I said this in my green screen, I cut it out. I said I had a moment, and it wasn't even about her. I had a moment. I had a moment, and it was not about Miss Marlene. It was I said I had a mother-in-law PTSD.
I mean, I ain't gonna talk about nobody mama, but the feeling was correct.
Carry on.
Because it was like, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel you. I don't even know who next in the question line, child.
I
think it's Jaylee. I think it's Jaylee.
What is it? So
I was going to ask something completely different.
Oh, you want to go ahead, Jamie, in case?
I was just going to ask, when she spoke about, her process of becoming a mom and being able to get pregnant naturally. My question was just, what did she love about being a mom? So,
what did I love during my pregnancy?
Or just being a mom now that you have your son? Like, what do you love the most?
A mom is it's so many facets to it. I just love just being there and taking care of him. Like I love that. Like I'm a nurturer with everybody by nature. I've always been that way, and I just love seeing him grow. And I understand that he's a gift, and I'm glad I had the experience that I had, because I could have probably been a helicopter mom, and it lets me know the journey that we've had thus far, Law and I, lets me know that he's my gift from God. And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful.
Amen. So speaking of just the hardship of being married and how you did not feel protected or even covered with him, on episode, I think it was 5, you spoke with Maurice about different things going on financially. And a lot of people have been questioning honesty, mainly because they felt like when you spoke on getting public assistance versus the PPP loan. I know you've probably seen stuff in the news. Can you clarify what you...
eyes, but I don't.
Do you want to clarify what you meant by public assistance so everyone can kind of understand what you meant and not feel like you were lying about a PPP loan versus public assistance? Just,
So first and foremost, I said, no, I didn't mean a loan. To clarify, I meant public assistance to separate the two. Right. One, getting a PPP loan is for your business. It's not for your personal self. 2, after going through a divorce, Madani closed 3 weeks after I opened because of COVID, and I was 4 months pregnant. And so it wasn't, I got to get out. Normally what I would do, get out here and hustle and figure it out. I didn't even know what the pandemic was. And I naturally wanted to protect my baby, but now I'm even more afraid because I don't even know what this is. So a lot of money from my side was going out and nothing was really coming in. And then to be hit with legal, divorce, custody. So everything was being put into that. Everything. Started the online e-commerce, which helps, but I couldn't really focus to even hustle and be the businesswoman that I needed to be in that space because it was so much. It was so much. I mean, it was a lot.
Back to back to back.
It was a lot. It was back to back, and just the continuous legal stuff. Every time I turn around, I got another motion filed against me. It was just like, I can't. This is too much. And so when we finally got to divorce, I was scared. I didn't know what I was going to have coming or going. And then in lieu of child support, he agreed to pay for the home for a year so that I could get my footing again. And so I wasn't getting child support. So there's a program, a couple of things that you can get that they'll give you a certain amount with the father that is not paying child support and things like that. So it doesn't mean, oh, I'm out here, in the welfare line. It just means that I got a little bit of help in the beginning of my divorce. So, and who want to lie about that? Who wants to lie about that? I went from making 6 figures, seeing 5 figures a month to not even knowing what was coming. And then I'm not even going to say that. I always say, but God, because that's all I can't even just thinking about the last 2 years of my life and everything that has transpired and everything that has happened and all the bills being paid and things that have, maybe had to be put to the side. And as a Black woman, we figured it out, but as a Black mother, we really, really figure it out. And it's been nothing but God. It's been nothing but God.
Yeah. So what
they
you
can
went
twist
through
and misconstrue and throw it around and want to question my character. I don't care about that crap. I know who I am, and I know one thing I don't have to do is lie.
Yeah, what you went through was traumatic. So I just thought of a question. Have you been to therapy since then to deal with everything you've gone through? And do you think what you've gone through will affect the way that you date in the future?
Are
you dating now?
That smile popped up real fast now.
What was the question again?
We call it wisdom teeth. You hear me? All the way in the back.
Somebody came to mind. So the first question was, have you been to therapy because what you went through was traumatic? The second question is, has what you've gone through affected the way that you'll date in the future?
So I never really stopped some form of therapy throughout. Like my ex-husband and I were always in therapy. And then I felt my life coach has been with me for over 10 years. So, and then throughout that, my pastor, we had our Friday calls throughout the process. So I've always had some form of mental health assistance because I really believe in it. But as far as individual one-on-one therapy, it's been with my life coach, my pastor, and just my prayer warriors. So yes, to answer the question, yes, it's been a multitude of different things to keep my mind right. And as far as it affecting the way that I date, I took 2 years off almost from engaging with anybody conversation wise. Like and it's COVID, so I wanted to have a hot girl summer, but I got a baby, so I couldn't be out here with a hot girl summer and bring COVID,
hot mama summer.
So,
I said hot mama summer.
Yeah, and so it never happened. Every time I tried to amp it up, it never really happened. And now it hasn't affected the way that I date. It hasn't, because that was my experience with him. And I can't bring that emotional baggage to somebody else, which is why I purposefully took the time to really focus in on me and my son.
That's good.
Okay. Wait, is it you, Necey, or is it me?
We were going to ask about Madani. I'll go. How's your business now?
So God is sending me people. Because my biggest thing in business, people, y'all know, is staffing. Staffing is hard, and because I can't be there like I want to be, and like I was in the beginning when we finally opened back up. It's been hard, but God is sending me people. So as far as the business now, we're relaunching. We're in the process of a lot of moving parts, dealing with this landlord and the purchase of this building. Because I negotiated the ironclad lease purchase, and the price that I negotiated 3 years ago, he's trying to wiggle out of.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so not only did I have to deal with all kind of stuff with getting stuff fixed, the AC was out for the whole summer, so we were closed. So people were like, she's not open, she don't know how to run it. No, y'all don't know the inner workings of what I'm dealing with. And $25,000 to replace the AC on the building that I don't have my ink signed to say that I own yet is not what I'm gonna do. So anyway, long story short, we're relaunching, revamping, and I know that we're gonna come back strong.
Good.
So last season, we witnessed that you purchased an anniversary trip for Kimmy. After opening up about your finances, viewers questioned how were you able to afford it last season?
So I became a small partner with, actually, I was in the vacation industry prior to, and two of my previous employees, my sales reps, developed the company. And so those gifts were not paid for. It was a part of a promotion for the company.
Okay, got you. That's what I figured. Because normally when stuff's on TV,
and I was promoting the company, they just didn't talk about it in that scene.
Right.
They just showed that part of it.
Exactly. Did they utilize that?
She said she redeemed it. They just haven't used that one yet.
Okay. Child, send it to me.
That's probably gonna be the group trip,
girl. We was just talking about we need to get out of here. Okay.
Well, you're right.
So last season we see that you had to sit down with Tiffany. How has your relationship with her been this season versus last season? Because it was tension last season. That with Tiffany,
Tiffany's interesting. She's funny. I actually most of the time like Tiffany because Tiffany is who she is, and I respect people for being who they are. In her sometimes green moments, and her sometimes not green moments that she's acting green, I know that that's just who she is. Mm-hmm. So it's been better. I don't have any ill will towards Tiffany. I just, you put a lot of women together and we have different personalities and different backgrounds. Sometimes you don't get a little smoke.
It's because I'm from Detroit too. So I'm like,
hey,
you can't just be, what else? You know, 313. You can't come with us any kind of way. It's not gonna work that way. It's gonna be some friction.
Listen, and I am 100 times better than I used to be. I tell people all the time, they would have got me on reality TV like 7-8 years ago. Ooh, God has worked on me. Okay. Still working though. Still working.
Well, speaking of, you mentioned smoke. You mentioned being who you are. Stormy, she's getting a lot of heat from people based on, I don't want to say ghetto or ratchet, but I guess not coming off as poised as they feel that she should be. So I want to get your thoughts on the history between you and Stormy and your thoughts about her being a part of the show.
So history-wise, before she became a part of the show, my previous publicist asked me if I knew who she was, and I didn't. And she was telling me that I should reach out to her. She had a product line and to get it in the store. So I reached out to her, DM'd her about getting Canvas Beauty in the store. And her warehouse is actually right by my store. But I never got any products. I never got the full circle of completing any of that. And I reached out twice. No ill will, didn't feel any way about it. And then she came on as, Melody's friend, and she was cool. Like, I thought she was super cool. She invited me to my dad to her house. She has it's a shared lake in front of the houses that are around her, the land and stuff that they have. And so I was like, yeah, my dad loves the fish. She's like, y'all can come out here. So she was just really cool to me. Even called me about, she was one of the sponsors for last season's Madani Beauty and Business Luncheon. Mm-hmm. And we've conversed. We've had conversations. We've talked. She asked me talked about the same thing that you're talking about. How can she find the balance of being herself and not coming across as, every word is a curse word. We had that conversation. And after that, I just feel like I don't know who that person is. And maybe that was because she was pregnant, and she was a different person, or maybe it's because of the dynamics of Mel and I don't know, but I ain't with it. I'm just gonna say that.
Would you think Mel probably got in her ear or something and said some negative things about you or anything? Because I know
Mel's really good at not saying anything but saying a lot. So I don't think that she spoke anything ill about me, with the intent of having her be a certain way. But it seems that way, and I could be wrong.
That's interesting. So you mentioned how you don't think she spoke ill about you with the intent of her being a certain way. Do you feel like that same thing kind of applies to the business fallout that you mentioned in the last episode?
Absolutely.
So saying a lot, well, saying nothing, but saying a whole lot. You feel like it was one of those things?
I think that one was a little bit deeper.
Okay.
So, Bondy, were you?
I was waiting on you.
Okay, yeah. So
we have a question about that.
Yeah, we were already speaking about Mel. So, the people want to get back to, it seems like the beginning of the big blowout. Why did you not confide in Mel while you were going through your divorce, and you ended up telling her afterwards, once everything was final?
Oh, please let this be clear, and just let it be clear. Mel knew every damn detail about my divorce outside of me signing my papers. That's all she did not know.
Okay, I was confused because last episode when you were with Martell, you mentioned that you and Mel leaned on each other because y'all both had been through divorce. And I was like, well, where? Because it didn't match with what we were seeing in the previous season.
It makes sense now.
That conversation, and if you really watch the scene and pay attention to the lighting, by the time I told her I was divorced, it was dark. And you could see that it had turned to dark because we had a whole conversation, and it was just like, well, I just want to let you know that it's official.
It's final.
Because you found out as a surprise anyway.
Right.
That's what it sounded like. You mentioned earlier that you found out about your own divorce as a surprise anyway.
No, because after that we got back together. So it wasn't a surprise.
Okay.
That
gotcha.
Okay. The finalization of the divorce wasn't a surprise. The initial default divorce was a surprise.
Okay.
But she knew about y'all getting back together and then breaking up.
She knew about everything.
Okay, so she knew. So why do you believe that she wanted everybody to think she didn't know about it? Come on, Destiny.
Hey, Destiny.
Because my mind goes all over the place. I need to ask the pinpoint. Why was she there?
One thing I've never been called is disloyal. Ever. And even if there were moments of opposition or whatever, I'm gonna own it. And that's why I have friends that I've been friends with for 25 years and up, still around. And it ain't always been peachy, but I feel like that's that I'm gonna say enough to make y'all feel away.
So you think she was just trying to make you look bad?
100.
So you think she was feeding into what we all talk about as far as viewers saying that you're not being transparent and kind of using that as an angle? Like she wasn't even transparent with me.
Sometimes I'm just in it, and then I'm like, oh, okay, that's what that was. Because I'm the type of person that I give you complete trust until you give me a reason not to. I don't go in looking for like, oh. But once you start showing me like, oh, you ain't worthy of this trust. So, and I start seeing those things, it's like, and it was an edit too, the way that they edited it, and it made it seem like, and she was bothered that she didn't know the day that I signed. She was. That wasn't a fake reaction. That was a real reaction. But it wasn't anything. She was just like, you after the camera said, girl, why didn't you tell me? And I'm like, we just went out to dinner and you couldn't get out of bed a few months before. And I didn't really feel like it was necessary to be like, girl, I signed my papers. It's over. Like, you knew the process was coming. You knew we were there. We were at that point. negotiating back and forth what was going to be what. So when I signed, it wasn't like, hey girl, let me call you and sell. It was like, I didn't tell my own father. Like, I didn't tell my family.
Right.
And when I started to feel like I was in a space like this is real, like it's over, then I was like, I'm telling people.
Right.
Is that why after Telltale Signs Grease Party, y'all were having that conversation and it was about, being in the village? Is it because she knew at that time that you would need more help because she knew that you were going through the divorce? So was that what sparked that, let's be each other's village conversation at the party for last season?
So the village conversation had been had multiple times and just didn't make it. And I felt like every time I had the conversation and she was just like, oh girl, you're going to find your village. It is what it is. And then on to the next subject. And so I was like, I wish you would stop being so dismissive of me saying that, I'm figuring out this whole village thing. And I was quarantined with a infant. Like that's sometimes stay-at-home mothers go back to work because of that. So, and my dad is 70. He doesn't know what to do with a baby. My ex-husband did have his, hour or how many hour it was visitation, and that would be my break. That was it. And so when I said a village, and I know I'm not a big proponent for everybody watching my kid. I'm just not that person.
Right.
So I was just like, yeah, I'm figuring it out. Like, don't be dismissive. Like, let's lean on each other. And it's not, hey, you keep my kid. It's just more of the empathy part that I was looking for. And that conversation was, listen, I did not want to have that conversation in that moment. And I know people are like, well, you did it. Because it was the last day of filming and they asked me at least 3 times to make sure that I, voice how I feel. And I'm like, I'm not doing it here. If you really watch the scene, you'll see me dragging her arm. Like, girl, come on.
Yeah, I did notice that. I did.
I didn't really want to, but what really was like when I said it and what her response was like, okay, this is where we at. Okay, it's even worse. There's no empathy at all. So, and people were like, oh, she's jealous. No, I was saying, I want you to understand you're dismissive because you haven't been in my shoes, because you had Mr. Mom and you had your mom and his mom. Y'all had a village. And I was just like, just look at it from my point of view. And that was really it.
New divorce, new city, it was a lot of newness for you.
Yeah, I hadn't been in Huntsville since high school. So
what were you wanting from her in that moment if it wasn't, childcare, I guess? What was the, what did you want from her?
Understanding. That's it.
You felt like all of those times y'all had that conversation, she just wasn't giving you that. It was like just, oh, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was Liberic, so because I know you said that he had full custody at some point. Did he not?
It was about 3 days. It was the weekend.
3 days. So
Friday,
you had
Saturday, Sunday. Yep.
So when you had the baby, he wasn't helping you at all?
When we were in the house together before the default judgment, no. I couldn't even ask him to bring me a salad to the room because I was so fatigued from breastfeeding and whatever else I was doing, or even to take a shower. I started taking a shower with my baby.
And he was he wasn't helping take care of you? Like, what kind of shit is that? I'm sorry. I'm just trying to understand how you have somebody, you're with somebody all of this time, they're having your baby and they physically need help. And you're just like, divorce. Like, I'm just trying to understand how he could just, leave you.
Because he didn't get his way. And when certain type of people don't get their way, then, the lack of empathy is there.
I mean, do you see similarities between him and Martell? Since they are
literally thinking the same.
That's what me and Melody related on. They have a lot of similarities. Let me be quiet. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So then I have to ask.
They've been best friends since they were 6.
So how are you friends with Martell if he's like Liberic? I'm just curious.
So when I say similarities, I mean they're both spoiled. They're both mama's boys. They're both entitled, a little arrogant. I mean, they have those similarities. Now, as far as what transpired in the marriage between the separate couples, like, I know Martell for being Martell. And to me, just like with Melody, when people would say certain things about her, like, I can only take her for face value as who she is to me. And
he's never shown any of those traits.
No.
Okay.
That was it. Okay. So let's talk about Mel and the sit down you guys had at the coffee shop. And it seems like Mel presented some text messages regarding you guys not, I guess you said at the reunion that you weren't in communication. Mel said that you had been in communication. Then you came on social media.
I posted the video because I hate when people leave out facts. The fact is, I said, I don't know where our relationship is because we haven't spoken. And I said, I'll text her or we'll text and I may get a response or I may not. I never said there was no communication. That never came out of my mouth. What I said was, it was basically what I was trying to say was the communication is different. So just Melody as a person, if the way we communicated, if she wants to talk to you, she will call you 9, 10 times back to back. And for it to go to, and we didn't have to talk every day. We didn't have to talk every other day. But if I text or if I call, you don't answer. And then, you know, maybe a day later I text like, hey, and what I said was, hey, are you disconnected from the world? Because sometimes that happens. I didn't get a response for a week. And so I texted again and said, hey, are you good? And then I didn't get I don't know, my next response might have been like 2 days later where I think she may have called. I don't know the timeline, but she texted me days after that and was like, I think she might have asked me to go to brunch. And I don't really remember the details of it, but I was out of town. And so even in between that time, but she said, oh, it was only 6 weeks. It was 6 weeks of call, no answer. I text, you text back, call, maybe 3 weeks later, no answer. Like, we never talked.
Y'all were missing each other.
Right.
Correct.
That's what I figured.
We never talked on the phone. And it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm being needy. It was like, something's different. Like, what's up? And if it's not, then I'm just saying I really don't know because I hadn't talked to her. And for me, the funniest thing about it was when she came with the receipts in the scene, what she failed to say was, when you came to the room with where Tisha and I were at, you came to give me your new number because I didn't even have it.
So she heard the conversation and still came over to give you.
Yeah, she gave me her number after that.
Can you give us more insight on what the conversation was? Because I guess I'm just confused on, now we know she continued to give you her number. And now for the past couple episodes of the season, it seems like whatever was said in the hotel room was just end all be all. So
and what I've asked in every scene was, please repeat what I said.
Do you remember what you said?
Verbatim. I've said it in like 3 scenes. It just hasn't played.
Oh.
Yes. So we all were, it was like the cast was split up. So Tisha and I didn't even know Mel was even in a hotel with me at all. That's how much we were communicating. And for her to say that she was next door to me, it seems real interesting because I'm a little bougie. So I got moved 3 times because I didn't like my first room. And then my second room, I realized it was the same size as the one I moved from. And we had like 5 people coming in to do fittings. And I was like, this ain't gonna work. This is just tight. So they moved me again. So you mean to tell me I got moved 3 times in a hotel and I ended up next door to you? Now, if it was a reservation and maybe they're like, it just seems real.
Well, anything is possible now, Destiny. It's possible.
Right. You're right.
Well,
you're absolutely right.
What would be the purpose? Like, so, okay. So are you, so wait, was she actually next to you or do you think that she wasn't really next to you?
No, I don't think she was next to me.
You think that she was just outside your room
listening?
Because she was coming to give you the new
Her
number. Oh,
so one thing we do know was that she overheard what was said, whether she was next door or not next door. So what can you share with us what we're not saying that they're not playing?
The whole purpose, two things. I was getting ready to go to my car because we all were leaving. The Scotts were staying because it was Marcel's birthday, so they stayed in LA longer. So Tisha just came to my room and we were just chopping it up, and she was telling me stuff that I hadn't seen because I wasn't on the stage the whole time. And one of the things she said was, it really broke my heart that Martell didn't answer the question. And I hated that. Like, the question about the,
what do you have
admit?
And I was like, oh my God. And I said, well, I just feel like, and I told Martell this. I said, I feel like he's just a little jealous at this point because of Melody's continuation to move on and move up. And I said he always wanted it to be the both of them. He wanted it to be the family. And so he's working through that. And I said he needs to focus on him and building his brand. And that was one thing I said. And the other thing I said, because Tisha and I, even though we communicated and we had become cool, I never told her that I felt like me and Melody had an issue, or I didn't know where our relationship was. So she was like, I didn't know y'all hadn't talked to each other. And I was like, yeah, girl, after a certain amount of time, you can't lose no sleep. And that's the two things that I said.
What was Tisha saying about the Scorpio comment? She was saying, or that wasn't Tisha or Mel.
Yeah, Mel said Tisha was like, you know how them Scorpios are, or something like that.
I don't think she ever said that. I don't remember her saying that.
Was it awkward when she came in and she was? Did she make it known? But
she knocked on the door, and I went and opened the door, and she was just like, just want to let y'all know that these walls real thin. And I said, okay, girl. So whatever you heard, I repeat it. And then I was like, whatever. And so then we started talking about, she's like, I sent you a text message. And I was like, no, you didn't. I've been texting you. And she said, I sent you a song, because Melody will send you like motivational songs or gospel songs. And I'm like, out of all these people, you ain't say your name. People text messaging me. I'm supposed to know that's you. And so she texted me again so I can have her your number at the top of my thread or whatever. And then she was walking off, being sassy. Like I said, these walls real thin. And I was like, whatever, girl. And then she left. And so we share a lot of the same people. So my landscaper is her landscaper. And so he texted me and was like, hey, do you have, literally like 5 minutes after she left, do you have Mel's new number? I misplaced it. So I text her and I was like, Jimmy just texted me and asked for your number. I said, it's so random. And she was like, he should have my number. I gave it to him or whatever. She said, I'll call him. And then she texts back, it's a lot of random things happening today. So I called her now and she didn't answer. So I said, girl, whatever. I said, all love. And then she said, nah, I'm good, in the text message. And so then I said, what's up? You want to talk? I said, we were recapping the reunion. And then she texted back, LOL. And then I said, what's up? You want to talk? Let's talk. And she said, we'll talk when we get back to Huntsville. And I called one of my best friends. I was like, I feel bad that my friend think I was talking about her. Like, it really wasn't that deep. Like, I think she thinks that I was talking about her, like, maliciously. And so when we went to brunch, we talked about that. And she said to me verbatim, I didn't think that you were talking shit about me. It was who you were talking to. And I was like, she's like, okay, you were talking to my enemy. Her words exactly. And I'm like, when did the girl become your? I didn't know she was your enemy.
Child, probably during the reunion when she said.
And she said that. She said the way that she was responding to me, and I realized in that moment that we weren't good.
Yeah, I feel like the reunion show changed a lot as far as how she's dealing with everybody. Because even before she was taping with Martell, now she's not taping with Martell anymore. And conversations,
because that was always toxic.
Yeah, no, that after that last one outside the people's house, that needed to be because that was too much. But so you don't feel like during the reunion show you seem to kind of validate what Tisha was saying about Mel being a sometimey friend?
I can only speak true to me, and that was one of the things she said I should have defended her. I said I can't speak true to her experience with you. I was talking to you, and you made it about her. And so that moment, y'all going back and forth. I'm not gonna jump in that.
I mean, the way
they got a longer history than me, so I can't really. What can I say?
I mean, the way they showed it on the reunion, it seemed like the question was asked to Tisha, and Tisha was like, "She's a sometimey friend," and then they asked you.
No, Melody saw her face and said, "Yes, Tisha," and I take breaks, and then it just went from there, and the whole conversation with her and I just went to the left.
Okay.
Do you feel like? Are you going, Bonnie?
Huh?
Go ahead, Jaylee. Ask your question.
So, do you feel like from the reunion, how things happened, you wish you would have? Did you wish anything would have been handled differently from her over here, you and Tisha, even from how she may have felt on stage with you not speaking up for the friend? Do you feel like anything could have been done differently for y'all not to be in this place now?
To me, I just feel like absolutely yes, but I feel like we've seen each other multiple times before filming started. It could have been a conversation easily had in between that time, but I didn't find out that we were at odds until filming started again, and there was the sleepover, and I wasn't invited because people were asking me where our mutual friends were asking me where I was, or texting me like, "Hey, you on your way?" And I'm like, "What are they talking about?" So I just got a text message from her on Thanksgiving. So from Thanksgiving to, the beginning of December, it was, now I'm not going into 2002 with people I don't want to go into 2022 with. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, this is new news to me.
So when was the reunion taped again? Was it October?
Yes.
So
no, maybe
September, October, somewhere up in there.
October, yeah.
So y'all basically was beefed out a little bit, but y'all was still talking. Y'all met up and talked after the fact, and it seemed like y'all was cool. And then here come the slumber party, and I'm not invited. So it felt like we talked, but we're still not cool. So why you ain't say we wasn't cool? Okay.
So I have a question. What was I going to ask?
And even that time, she even I was going through some more legal stuff with my ex-husband, and I called her, and when I let her know, when I called her, she was like, "Girl, I'm getting fitted for something. I'll call you back." And I was like, "Well, this is I don't want to speak about it because we're still going through it, and legally, I just don't know what I can and cannot say." So she was like, "What, girl? I'm on my way." So she came to my house, her and her mom, and stood in the door with me for about 5 minutes, and I cried on her shoulder, and she left. And so after that, then I found out we're not going into 2022 together.
So that took place in December when you cried on her shoulder?
No, that took place in November.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So recently, it appears that Melody has unfollowed you on Instagram. And as recent as the last episode, she said you guys will never be the same. I've seen on interviews where you've mentioned how you have supported her. So my question is, why have you supported somebody that's not rocking with you? And will you continue to support this person?
Because if I'm a real woman of empowerment, that stuff don't mean nothing. Like, if I want to see you win, I want to see you win.
So would you be open?
I think it's really juvenile to unfollow people sometimes. It's like, I mean, but if that's your thing, that's your thing. And if I get to that space, then maybe I will unfollow her. But I just don't, I've supported her because I want to give the type of love that I want to be received, regardless of where we are. And it's funny because I did buy her single. I bought the skincare line, and she refunded my money back.
Do you think Mel is a good friend to you based on that?
She said what?
Yeah.
Do you think Mel was a good friend to you based on how you feel things that went down with her refunding your money and how she is? Like, do you feel like overall you guys had a true friendship? Because Martell brought up in the last episode how she doesn't have a good heart. How do you feel about Mel?
That was tough.
Which is why I didn't respond, is because I've never said that Mel was a bad friend. That never has come out of my mouth. I said I don't want to believe that she's a bad friend, but how she's moving is showing me different. So what I feel is Mel was a good friend to me in the time that we were connected.
Friends.
But how you move when you have opposition with people that you were friends with speaks volumes to your character. And for me, and the things that have been said and done in opposition don't scream good friend. So the things that she did from her heart, like she mentioned in social media that she gave me money before. She did. I never asked her for it. I remember one day she called me and was like, check your PayPal, girl. Or was it a text message? I don't remember which one it was. And I checked my PayPal. She had put money in there. And I literally called her. And she didn't pick up. But I left her a voice note. I didn't call her. Left her a voice note, you know, in tears, thanking her. Like, you didn't have to do that. Like, don't do that or whatever. And she saved it. You know, you can see how people keep it. And I was like, what's that for? A receipt? Or is that really because you want to keep it? But for somebody to speak about things that were supposedly done from the heart in a way of this is what made me a good friend. Ugh. Don't sit over there tight lip, Jami. Don't purse your lips. What you got to say?
It's just really, you know, I mean, I'll be honest. I wasn't expecting you to be, because I've seen some of your interviews, so I wasn't expecting you to be as open as you are. And I'm really appreciating you just being, you know, yourself, and you just being open about your experiences with the different people on the show and just in your life in general. So that's why I'm like,
it's appreciative.
I wasn't expecting it, but I really appreciate it.
I'm a protector by nature. Like, so, you know, a lot of things I just didn't feel like it was necessary to say.
Yeah.
Even in that cafe moment, it was like I was holding back so much.
I wish you wouldn't have.
But it's like, man, like this to me is juvenile. Like, I'm not gonna go at my friend. Like, you was supposed. I didn't even know what we were gonna be talking about. I didn't know what she was mad at, or if she was mad. I didn't know really what it was, because I had sent a text message to her after the business situation, and I was like, "What's up? Like, what is it really?" Because now somebody's saying we really need to talk, and it's more than what you think it is, and I'm like, "Well, what is it? Why does everybody else know and I don't?" And when we sat down, I gave her a moment to have, you know, get it out. And then when it started going left, that's when I was like, oh, here we go. And
did you watch the IG live she did with the girl, the mutual friend? Did you actually see that, or did you just hear about it?
No,
how did that make you
I saw a
feel?
piece of it. Somebody tried to send it to me and I clicked off of it, but I saw a piece of it.
So now that you've seen everything play out, I know you speak about like supporting each other in love and, you know, all that. Would the door be open for you and Mel to become friends again in the future, or reconcile in some way?
Like I said at that table, I'm always love her and support her from a distance.
Hey, all right. Okay, so how has your friendship been with Letitia? Would you say that you all bonded or got closer over your common enemy, so to speak?
No, it's never been about that. Tisha has never said anything bad about Mel to me. Never. Ever. And it's crazy because
not even at the studio. Not even when y'all sat down in the studio.
What she say in the studio?
I can't remember what she said. I can't remember what she said. I'm just asking if she said anything in the studio.
In our private conversations prior to that scene, because I don't remember what she said, she never even spoke about, you know, even when I said, you know, I'm not going to lose any sleep, she's like, y'all just need to talk. Y'all just need to talk. She never tried to project whatever they went through on me. And that's real talk. Yeah. So no, we didn't bond over a common enemy. We bonded over being on a reality show and in this crazy world and these crazy schedules and having kids and trying to figure it out, and her sharing her nanny with me and things like that. Like, we bonded over that type of stuff. We didn't bond over Melody, anything about Melody.
Are y'all closer, or is y'all relationship still good? Because Miss Wanda girl, she be out here. She could make
I love Miss Wanda. She funny. Yeah, we still cool.
Y'all so cool. Okay.
Would you change anything based on what you went through on the show so far? Is there anything you wish that you had done differently now looking back on it? Not the marriage, but like just in general, the show in general. Like, what would you change about your experience on the show?
What would I change about my experience on the show? All the holes in the storyline, as Bondy said. It's so many missing parts about me. And I don't want to make it about me, which is a lot of probably why. But ultimately now it's like those holes, those gaps need to be filled up because people have no idea who I really, really am.
Make it about you, girl. It's all right. Make it about you.
Because I know when I reviewed
that, I used to have that problem because I was the first African American manager in my corporate job that they ever had in Tennessee. And I remember my HR director saying, "You need to brag more. Like you need to brag more." I don't have that. I mean, I'll get, listen, I'm cute. I know I'm cute. I do all that, but I just don't have like that. It ain't in me to be arrogant, and I don't know how to find the balance of celebrating myself and not feeling arrogant.
I have that issue as well. I'm not even gonna lie. So I totally understand. Like I'm constantly like checking myself. You know how you feel good about yourself? You're like, wait a minute, am I being an asshole? Like
yes.
So I definitely get that.
I know a lot of reviewers felt like, I know for me personally, I felt like, I'm like, I don't know nothing about her, but I want to know like what's going on. So I think this interview will help more fans know how you are and get a better feel for you and not feel like we don't know what you're doing. So girl, speak about you. Because at the end of the day, if you don't, who will?
Exactly.
Right. True. That's true.
So shifting gears just a little bit, kind of going
it's
back
another
to
gear. Well, how many more gears?
Just one last gear.
This is the last gear. We're gonna call this segment rumor. Somebody saying the Corvette. Stop spreading.
Rumor has it.
Stop.
So
I'm trying to cut y'all up. Some wine or some water and I've been trying to act like I can hear y'all for real. But I've been struggling.
We can yell now. We can get louder voices.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can be real loud.
Why it sounds so low? I don't know if I'm covering my speaker with this thing. I got that new iPhone, so I don't know. Listen, I'm gonna leave it alone if I mess something up.
Okay, it's all right. Okay, so question: there have been like rumors. I feel like there's serious allegations. I've seen things on like Facebook, social media, whatnot. And people are alleging that there was infidelity in your marriage. Is there anything you want to confirm, deny, dispel, any of that? Shut it down or not?
So I was married for 2 days and it was COVID and it wasn't no time to be in the streets and having infidelity. So the answer to that is no. There was no infidelity on my side in my marriage.
What about in the relationship?
In the relationship, there's been some emotional relationships that I feel like cross some boundaries. But as far as hardcore finding anything like cheating, no.
Girl, listen, the way you describe him, I wouldn't begrudge you, is what I'm gonna say.
No, at the reunion, you spoke, and correct me, if I'm wrong, but you spoke about, I think somebody asked you about infidelity, and you said that you all were separated. So
no, I meant in dating, like we had breaks. I was not talking about marriage.
Right.
Over the years, okay.
So when y'all were dating, y'all had breaks, but in the marriage, it wasn't.
No, never. Even when I went through my divorce, like I really believe in the sanctity of marriage. I didn't, and this is no shade to nobody else, I didn't talk to nobody. I didn't deal with nobody and even entertain another man until I was divorced.
Okay. So the next hole that I would love for you to fill, I mean, just recently, as of this week, everybody has been talking about, more rumors. The most recent rumor is that you were having to move out of your home since the 1 year is up. So is there anything that you would like to speak on?
It's public knowledge. It was a motion filed a couple weeks ago. I requested the last document in my refinance, and instead of getting a response, it was a motion filed. So I am at the tail end stages of refinance, and I got to go to court about it because of somebody filing a motion. So at this point, I've done all I'm supposed to do on this part, and the next thing is, him signing whatever document it is to pay off the mortgage that's only in his name.
Gotcha. So it's not that you have to be out by the end of the month or anything. The ball is
the agreement was that it would be a year to the date of us divorcing. Our divorce was final on April 12th. So even if we did, we would have to put the house on the market. So the agreement was either I refinance and pay half of the equity, and I'm telling y'all all my business, but it's legal, not public knowledge, or we sell the house and we get half. So the market has completely flipped upside down, interest rates, pricing, and all that. So for me, it just makes sense to stay put. So that's why I looked at the refinance option. So yeah.
Okay. Another rumor.
Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does.
It does.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask another question that's a little in y'all business, and that's about the custody situation. Because you did mention it, and people have been saying shit. So I would just like, for you to clarify for the people if you would like to.
I'm gonna clarify for the people, and they better fix it, because it's public knowledge that I have primary residency with my son, and we have joint custody as far as being 50-50 parents. And no, he gets him one day. He gets him every Thursday, and every other Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
So don't be calling Destiny Black China. Get that together.
Get it all the way together. Because one thing that I pride myself on, and the biggest goal in my life outside of all this money or any of that stuff doesn't matter to me, was to be a mom, because I didn't have my mother in my life. And so it's always been a goal for me to be the best mother that I could be. So that I was pissed. Like when I saw that, I was like, but I try not to respond in anger. But it is what it is.
But sometimes, you know what? Sometimes you have to talk about your life to help somebody else know they're not in it alone, because your story would be somebody else's testimony. So while I know you may feel like everybody in your business, like it's too much, but I think you may not even know it right now. Like in a year from now, your whole journey will help somebody else. So I hope you feel like going forward, you can be as honest about what you want to speak on.
The reason why I haven't been so honest is because everything that I do and say is being used against me in court. So that's why I've been tight-lipped a lot, to be honest with you.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And because, as she mentioned earlier, likely Carlos isn't, willing to share some other details about what's going on in her life. And hopefully, as we go into the other seasons,
I don't know if he's willing. They say he wasn't willing. Don't do that.
Okay. Don't talk about the boss.
Like, don't get me in trouble.
Carlos be saving shit for them episodes.
Let me not put words over there. My bad. But listen,
Carlos be saving stuff.
When we do, well, hopefully he'll show us, because when you don't get the full story or most of it, or you don't, if we don't have enough information, it's going to leave people to create their own stories and their own narratives about you and everything around. So hopefully we can get more details about you and what you have going on. And I think that's also going to make people, like you more. Absolutely. I think we like you, but I think
whoever that person was, and I'm going to speak to it because it was sent to me. There's somebody that's really close to his family or him, because there was a lot of truth and a lot of lies mixed in together. It's too many details. Like, how do you know we didn't get a down payment? We didn't have a down payment on our house. How do you know that he's military? How do you know all those things about him? And everything about him was, you fumbled the bag, and he did. I made more money than him. Every year we were together, outside of the first year we were together, I made more money than he did.
Let me tell you something. I'm glad you brought that up, because that specific person, whoever that was that put that story out, I remember telling the ladies, I said, I don't like it, because they trying to make it seem like he's some perfect angel. And I remember seeing him on the show, and it ain't never gave that. So I automatically, as much as people like to act like, I cape for male and all of that shit, I am a very fair person. And ultimately, I didn't like that, because I was like, I don't like how that sounds. Like, y'all trying to put it all.
He is perfect on paper.
Yes, I don't like when people try to do that, because I know in real life, 9 times out of 10, that's not the way it is at all. Which
I'm not perfect, and I wanted to add. I played a huge part in the demise of my marriage, as far as just not giving a F anymore and not giving anything into it, because that's where I got, and I really feel like I was trying to make something work that I knew was a big. I was in spiritual warfare for a long time. And I wanted to prove to myself one, that I could be, you know, a wife and a mother and all that. And it definitely served its purpose because law is here.
Right.
That's my biggest gift. And also it made me grow up because I mean, I
yeah.
was a spoiled only child, one of my way, but it forced me to look at me, because when you have a lot of crazy, like, somebody got to figure out how to not make it be too crazy
Right.
and not respond
That's
all
all.
the time.
Usually time that's
Yeah.
us. So let me
Huh?
ask you, I said usually that's us that does that. The women
Always.
are always the ones that, you know, gather, you know, let me do what I gotta do. But this is my
Yeah.
question about him. You said that you felt like you weren't being provided for when we started the interview. And I'm like, you know, not to be funny, but wasn't he the chicken king or something? So I'm trying to understand, you know, was he always in a good space, or did you help him get in a, like, was it like, you know, we got in a good space together, or was he just not in a
I
good, because
feel
it made it
like,
seem like he was financially stable, and when you
Mhm.
said you weren't provided for, it made me wonder. And then you said you didn't give a fuck, and usually that sounds like somebody ain't doing what they're supposed to be doing. So
man, there's a lot of answers to that question. So first, again, like I said a few seconds ago, he looks great on paper. He's a West Point graduate. He, you know, has his master's degree. He's always worked in, you know, with large contracted companies like, you know, Booz Allen, Boeing. So he always has kept a great job. But when I say, and then the whole business with the business barbecue restaurant, at a certain point in our relationship, he was trying to bring me in the fold to help him build, but his mother wouldn't allow it. And when I say that, it was not that she's really, well, she said stuff. Let me be quiet. She said stuff. It was more of a family thing, and I wasn't family. So
Mhm.
to say that I helped him with that, there were things that I did in the process. But one thing I will say, he's one of the hardest working men that I've ever seen. And one of them, I know a lot, but I mean, for him to work, he would get up and he would barbecue, and he would 4 o'clock in the morning grill and whatever, and then come home, take a shower, and go to Boeing, and then leave Boeing and then go to the restaurant and close out. So he's a hard worker for sure. But as far as providing for me, he felt like, you got a roof over your head, don't you?
Mm.
I'm sorry. You
Yeah.
have a roof over your head, but I'm sorry. So what does that mean? Like, he didn't want to fully provide for you? Like, what does that mean?
She probably can't say much. She look like
I know,
what
okay.
could the
trying to be
judge
very
use
careful.
to give
What
this
can I say?
statement? Let's right.
What I would say is this: prior to being married, the type of things that I received gift wise, and I've always paid my own bills. Like, that was never something that he did. It just transitioned to almost like I did need him, because I was 1-year wife, pregnant with a brand new business, had left my corporate job. So I literally, nothing changed but my rent, like the same bills that I had outside of that. And now I have a bill for a building, and I was paying for all of that myself.
And he felt like, I guess, once whatever the breakdown happened, and he didn't want to help provide for you.
He wanted to split the cable bill. So you go figure.
No, ma'am.
That is
No,
so
ma'am.
crazy.
You know, country suit wearing.
Not the
Oh,
cable bill.
ma'am.
I'm joking on that. But like, you know, household bills. And it's like, listen, you know, I'm building right now. Like,
And he didn't need
building.
it from you.
Huh?
Are you saying so he didn't need money from you, but he was still requiring it from you?
Mm-hmm.
And that's his wife, and that's the husband. I feel like you have
as his pregnant
painted.
wife.
That's what I'm
Who's
saying.
bedridden.
I think you have painted a clear picture of what was going on without giving the prosecution the evidence they need. You know what I'm saying? I think you said that because like we can kind of see how he moved a little bit, even though you're not trying to speak too negatively about him, but it's like we see he moved differently once you were there and you had no choice but to be there. and you couldn't move differently for yourself. So I feel like, you know,
like a Tyler Perry movie.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It's killing me.
No, to be fair, to give some balance to it. When he was good to me, he was good to me, because we even had that conversation. Right. And he was like, "I was good to you." I said, "I'll never take that away from you. You were. I know you did things for me that you would have never done for a woman. Like, he wasn't even cut like that. But what you do to get a woman is what you have to keep doing to keep her.
Right. And it is usually like that. When things that they do have good qualities, or things usually are good for a while when they're really good. And then on the flip side, it's bad.
Look, it's bad.
And that's the true sign of a person, is how they gonna deal when it's bad, not just when it's all good.
I said that. Friendships, marriages, relationships, period.
Yep.
So when people are like, "Why are you supporting her? She's thirsty. She don't even want to be your friend no more." It's like, what, I'm supposed to hate her? Like, no. Right. My heart ain't even designed that way.
Do y'all get paid well on Huntsville?
Good question, girl. Good question, because we want to know.
Because he sure was trying to snatch that from you, and you over here handling everything. So I'm like, well, girl, y'all must be getting paid.
They don't get paid nothing. She need all the money. They don't get paid nothing. She want all the money.
Okay, so is it? I'm gonna say this: is it less than $5K an episode?
It's the blinks for me.
They get paid $1.
We are in negotiations, so I don't want to speak about what we get paid.
It's the blinks.
So if we're not saying directly to your pay, can you say that the exposure from the TV show has paid off for you?
I really just started being outside, so I'm starting to realize, like, everywhere I go, somebody knows who I am, which is weird, but I feel like the exposure has to match. You have to be able to put back into your brand. So to have exposure without the finances put in your brand, it don't matter.
So you don't think that do you not think that the show has like drawn more people to shop at Madani?
Absolutely.
Because
absolutely. I'm grateful. I would never say that the platform hasn't done that. So yeah, the out of towners that I get, ordering online, and just to support, just in general, support online, social media support. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And once they know you more, they're gonna shop more. That's what it takes. Once people get to know you, they will support you.
They want to support you.
They want to support you.
They already telling you to go ahead and write a book. Go ahead and put it out.
Listen, I'm working
your name on it.
Oh, you are.
Who's telling me to write a book? People are watching this right now.
She
listen. Seriously, I actually I'm thinking about doing that, because I feel like I need to get it out.
You do
need to get it out.
Girl,
just my life in general, not just per se my marriage.
No, I feel like you have a very interesting story, and I feel like it would definitely be a story that a lot of women around our age would be able to relate to in a whole bunch of ways. And you are beautiful and aesthetically pleasing, and you know what I mean. So, and it's so funny because I'm sad that things went the way they did between you and Mel, because we were like, we were rooting for y'all, like click,
rooting for you.
Yeah, it's giving
I was rooting for us too. That's one of the things I talked about, and I talk about with the cast. I said we need to be doing more stuff together. Like, why are we not doing more stuff together?
Yeah,
I said it all the time. Tisha and I have done stuff together. And we'll throw stuff that we can't do to each other.
You and Kimmy? You and Kimmy have a... Are you and Kimmy good?
Oh yeah, Kimmy, my girl. I just texted her the other day. I'm always, she's the girl that the woman that I reach out to when I'm like, "What you think about this girl?" I love she's Kimmy. That person.
Yeah, Kimmy's
she's that person.
Yeah, I actually got a chance to meet her in person, and she was super sweet. Like just like when we talked to her here. So I'm glad. I'm glad that you.
The Scotts overall are solid. The family is just they're solid people.
So we're not gonna ask you what you felt about the trailer, okay?
I haven't seen the trailer.
Oh, you haven't?
Please watch
that
trailer. I was shook.
Look,
Kiki and Tisha and Marceau and
crazy.
Yeah, Miss Wanda.
Very potatoes.
We're gonna have to have you back to talk about stuff from the other half of the season. Now it's an open space now. And you have answered. Here's the thing: you have answered all the questions anybody can ask about your former marriage. So now ain't no even need.
It ain't no speculation at all.
Right.
Destiny, how do you feel about often being compared to Mel? when I think about you singing, you know, now you're saying you're going to write a book, and I'm just thinking about the viewers and how, as long as you guys are in opposition, they're going to try to continue to pin you guys against each other. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, what are your thoughts?
I told Melody that 2 seasons ago, and I said, what are we going to do about it? And it was never like
Followed up
thing. It's funny because I said this in an interview before. I said we have a lot of similarities. Like, we're driven women. We actually have a lot of the same desires. So for me to I've always wanted to write a book, because before I even got on TV, like, just my life's journey as being in foster care and all the things that have happened to me. I mean, I grew up real fast in Detroit. I mean, you grow up fast, period. But I mean, in Detroit, you grow up fast, period. I grew up real fast because I experienced a lot. I remember when my dad, I have a godmother who I call Mama, and she met me when I was 6. And she said, I remember being shy when I walked in the house. She said, you walked in and you said, can you show me where my room is? And I was like, what? She was like, oh, you were a woman. She said, you were 6. You did your own hair. You picked out your own clothes. And when I was telling my dad's sister that, she was like, you had to. You didn't have a choice. So, like, my journey, I think, when I speak to a lot of youth, you hear, like, Girls Inc. and things like that, I'm like, listen, I came from where y'all came from. And I would love to see people, or to feed into that part of my life, and people that are in that space to know that it's, you know, you don't have to be a complete product of your environment, because, you know, the hood come out sometimes.
When did you leave Detroit?
Huh?
When did you leave Detroit?
Like, around what age? Back and forth, but I was. It was I don't even really know how to give that full answer, but so I'll tell you the schools that I went to, and then ended up going in and out of Clinton, Edison, and then I tried to start in Redford. Okay. Try. And then my dad was like, ain't no way you going to high school in Detroit. You got to give it up. It ain't happening.
Detroit high school is different. It's a whole different thing.
Yeah, that just made me laugh. With you telling us all the places you were from, made me laugh thinking about that Vegas trip when Tiffany said from Atlanta to Tennessee, wherever you were from. Didn't you say I'll drag you in all those places?
Listen, that was my alter ego. Sometimes, you know, that person comes out and they'll say anything.
It was hilarious. But Destiny, I appreciate you coming on, being transparent, answering the questions. It was a good conversation. Like I thought it would turn into a conversation. It's been nice talking to you. Is there anything that you want to share with everyone about what you have coming up?
Absolutely. So Madani is moving into the space of products. Well, we actually launched it last season at the Beauty and Business Luncheon. I have a product line called the Glow Up Collection, and it is 3 of my go-to products. One is a hair growth serum. The other is a brow growth serum for your eyebrows. And the third one is a vitamin C serum for your skin. And these are the 3 products that I use because my edges fell out after I had my son. My eyebrows stand out more than they already were. And my skin went berserk. And I actually had a company send me some hair growth oil. And when I realized, I'm like, what is going on? And I'm a baby hair queen, okay? And I'm like, what is going on? So I just started using this oil, and I remember it worked. And I reached out to this company and I said, thank you so much for sending me this sample. Like, I appreciate it. Y'all got my edges back. And so they were like, we like you on the show. That's why we sent it to Madani, because they sent it to the store. And what do you think about working on your own line since you've used our products and you have a true experience? And I was like, absolutely. So we curated those 3 products because those are the 3 things that I used. And so Madani, the Glow Up Collection. It'll be launching soon. I don't have a tentative date, but I would say by 3rd quarter it will be out. And then my single, I have a birthday coming up this weekend, and if the master is loaded in time, my single On 10 will be released. And whether it's this weekend or next week, I'm hoping this weekend. But On 10, that will be my first single. I haven't been in the studio probably a year after I got in my relationship. So it's been 7 years And I had just, I started singing to my son. I didn't have my heart song, so I didn't even have the desire to really even like sing in public and all that. But I did this weekend when I was in Atlanta, I did an artist boot camp. So I was like, oh, I remember what this like,
dope.
Yeah, and I was in there with kids and adults. It was really cool to be back in that space and to get back to honing the craft and not just, blah. And so, yeah, I'm excited about this journey. So my first single on, and I'm working on a couple more songs that I have now too. So put together a nice little project for y'all.
Little EP.
All right.
Little EP. Yeah.
That sounds good.
And when I have a listening
great.
party, y'all are all invited.
Okay, please, we'll come.
Listen, it won't be my first time.
Yeah.
Okay.
How
Now
about
feel free to come back anytime, honey. Just send a look.
When I drop that,
come on through.
Y'all be ready.
Listen, come on.
We got you.
Come through.
Yeah. Promotion all up and through. We'll look. Get the iTunes
How we support
and the people.
That's why it's the ladies first. Okay, because no matter who supports the ladies. Okay,
That's right.
Yes,
That's right.
yes.
Well, all right. Thank you so much for coming on. You have a good night and don't be a stranger. We'll be ready.
Ditto. Y'all have a good night and y'all don't be strangers either.
I know.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a great
Good
birthday.
all right.
All right. If y'all enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a thumbs up, share the video with people who y'all know love the show, okay? We do this every Thursday. We talk about your favorite shows. Be sure to follow us at OohLadiesFirstPanel. Email us with questions or advice or anything like that. Twitter and Instagram, OohLadiesFirstPanel. Follow Bondy at Bondy Blue, Jaylee at Jaylee's Corner, Jami at Jami ThatsMe, and you can follow me at Necey Dixon. With that being said, we hope y'all have a good night.